Okay, in this tutorial I'm going to take you through some of the flowers spreadsheets tasks, specifically the first part, adding data and formatting. Now, this is a fairly simple, mostly level 1 task, but I will explain some of the tricks that more advanced IT users might use. Don't let them throw you. I'll tell you when it's an optional extra. Okay, so what have we got? We've been given a spreadsheet containing information about flowers. Please open it in Excel and complete these tasks. So I've linked the spreadsheet on mine. Control and click to follow link. Okay, so this is Microsoft Excel 2010. It's very similar to 2007, and I expect the next one will be quite similar too. You get this big thing at the top called a ribbon. You've got lots of different ribbons. File ribbon, home, web, the most common stuff is, and all these other ones. Usually they're quite self-explanatory, but sometimes it's very difficult to find things, especially if you're more used to the older versions like me. It's certainly taken me a while to get used to this ribbon thing. Okay, so let's get stuck in. Adding data and formatting. Add the following data and make sure the spreadsheet is clear and easy to read. Okay, so we're adding data about English rows. So we could type it like this, couldn't we? English rows. And then click in the next cell for the next thing we want. Which isn't very easy. So I clicked away over here and then into the cell I wanted next. Red. To be honest, I wouldn't type this in if I had it available. I'd copy and paste it. So you can. There's loads of ways of copy and pasting. That time I right clicked with the right mouse button and I right click and paste. It gives you options when you've done that on what kind of formatting you want. But I wouldn't worry too much about that. Geeks like me, we don't right click and copy, we do Control and C for copy and Control and V when we paste it in Excel. You see C and V are next to each other. X is cut, so you've got Control and X is cut, Control and C is copy, Control and V is paste. That's optional. But people who use computers a lot like to do Control and C. Control and V, because it saves them time. Control and C. I'll tell you one more optional thing. If you want to switch between programs, try holding down Alt and just tapping the Tab key. And you can see you switch between programs like this on the desktop. Just try that. What happens is, if you just hold down Alt and press Tab once, it goes to the last program you used. So that's how I can switch between these two really quickly. That's a tip. You don't need to know that, but you might like it. White. Control and C to copy, Alt and Tab to switch, Control and V to paste. The only reason I told you that at that particular point is because really adding data is quite a simple task, isn't it? Now, it hasn't said that we've got any stock of these yet, so I'm going to assume that there is none. Same with that carnation, I'm going to assume it's none. Right, where are we then? Add the following data. So you might think you're done now for this line, but you're not, because it says, and make sure the spreadsheet is clear and easy to read. Now, is it clear and easy to read? No, in my opinion it's not. There's plenty wrong with this. Have a look at it for a minute, pause maybe, and think about what's wrong with that table. Should be at least 3 or 4 things. Here's what I've got. For starters, some of this text I've added is a little bit smaller than what's there. Second, much more important point is you can't see all of these words because our columns aren't wide enough. Another point is these prices, what's 0.8? That doesn't make sense. So it should be formatted as if it's money. So let's take you through these things. If you want to make the columns wide enough, you can hover the pointer between the two, like here between A and B, and double click, and that will automatically make the column wide enough to show what's inside. There's an even slicker way of doing that. Clicking here will highlight the whole table, and then if you double click, they'll all automatically go to the right size. A point here, you see number in stock column. It's much wider than it needs to be because there's quite a long column heading, which is fine at the moment, but in a situation where you have a really table with lots of columns, a really busy table, you might need to squish these columns down much more to fit them on a printout. So what you would do is wrap the text, so this goes on a few lines. So how do we do that? Well, the row is going to need to have a greater height, and now you've made the row greater in height, you'll need to wrap the text, which means go to a new line when you run out of space. So I'll highlight the whole row in case I add any more, column headings, and I'll just right click it, and loads of stuff that's really good and important is in format cells. If in doubt, right click and look in format cells. And if you click alignment, you can wrap text. Now you may well have noticed when I was doing that I could have just clicked there, and it certainly would have been quicker in this instance. So as usual, there's loads of ways of doing stuff. Now nothing's happened, that's because it doesn't need to wrap the text. But when I shrink this column, it will need to wrap the text. There we go. Now I don't like this, I'd rather these column headings were in the centre, I think, vertically. So you see these are all about how to position the text, and I'm going to go for in the centre like that, or maybe the top. No, the centre. So there you go, I'm starting to format it how I like it. The next worst thing is probably this price column. It's showing money, so it should look like it's showing money. Quickest way, highlight the column, and you can either click there, or you can choose currency like that. Currency just means money. And what Excel automatically does is it aligns them on the right if they're currency or number or a date that it understands. Just boring old text aligns on the left. Now, it doesn't look particularly nice, does it? I don't think it looks good. Not up to the standard I would hope for. So I'm going to do this neat little trick you get in 2010. Just format as table. Just click that. Choose a style that you don't mind. I think I quite like that one, maybe. Really, it's just showing off, but it gives you options to filter all these columns, which can be really neat, and we might come on to later. So there you go. We have added the data. We've made sure the spreadsheet is clear and easy to read by formatting it, making that price, making the columns wide enough. Remember, we might need to do that to get it to print nicely. Not in this case, but in larger spreadsheets. And we've made it, formatted it as a table, so the column headings stand out. Next step, highlight any flowers where the stock is running low, 2 or fewer. So there's a couple of options here. You could do it manually, and if you want to highlight multiple lines, you hold down Control, which is at the bottom left of your keyboard, CTRL. So at level 1, you'd highlight the rows. I don't know, you might want to make the text red to show that you're running out. Okay, that's fine. At level 2, you might want to do that automatically. So when these numbers in stock go down, they'll automatically be changed. So how do you do that? It's with conditional formatting. Based on the condition of how many are in stock, you format it differently. And I'm going to go in this row first. I'll try. It was 2 or fewer, wasn't it? Just let me check that. Yeah, so it's going to be less than 3. Which didn't work. I think I needed to highlight the whole column. So at level 2, you'd use that conditional formatting, which does it automatically. So let's say you sell 5 bunches of daffodils, you're left with 1. It'll automatically be highlighted. Conditional formatting might come up at level 2. Okay, so that's all your level 1 tasks and that possible level 2 task about adding data and formatting.